This is the Church of the Nativity. It's built over the traditional place of Jesus' birth, a site that pilgrims have been visiting for almost 2,000 years. Jewish archaeologist Dr. Gabriel Bar-Kai has been working in Israel for more than 40 years.
Listen, I'm very objective. First of all, I'm an archaeologist, and I'm not Christian.
Where, personally, do you believe that Jesus was born?
Under the Church of Nativity in Bethlehem, there are some caves. And those cavities were in use in the 1st century beyond any doubt. For very important places, very significant places in Christian faith, I would regard the traditional places as authentic.
But Micah is not the only prophet who predicted where the Messiah would be born. In the Book of Mormon, the prophet Alma prophesied, "And behold, he shall be born of Mary at Jerusalem." You can turn to Alma chapter 7, verse 10.
Oh, this is that scripture.
The Book of Mormon is saying that Jesus is born in Jerusalem. Micah is, in the Bible, is saying that the Messiah is born in Bethlehem. Can they both be right?
No.
Mormon scholars try to argue that since Bethlehem is so close to Jerusalem, they can be considered the same place.
Was Bethlehem part of the land of the Bible? Well, even today, if you go to Bethlehem, you realize it's essentially a suburb.
Bethlehem is how far away from Jerusalem? 6 miles? Of course it's going to be in the land of Jerusalem.
Is this for sure a mistake? Because Mormon scholars say, well, Bethlehem is close to Jerusalem, so they can be the same. But the historical geographers, in fact, I interviewed a historical geographer, and I didn't tell him what the issue was. I just started trying to convince him that Bethlehem and Jerusalem are so close to each other that they could be considered the same thing. And he treated me like I didn't know what I was talking about and corrected me. Have you ever heard of Bethlehem being described as the land of Jerusalem?
It's not the land of Jerusalem. Bethlehem is a city 6 miles south of Jerusalem.
Is there any way that you could say that Bethlehem is so close to Jerusalem that you could just call it Jerusalem?
No. And there's cities in between Bethlehem and Jerusalem.
Because Jesus was born in Jerusalem, right?
No, Jesus was born in Bethlehem.
So, historically, have you been to Bethlehem? Which one do you think is right historically?
Historically, it's Bethlehem. This causes me great angst. I'd like to say that Alma is a human, that he makes mistakes, but Deuteronomy says that in that context you cannot make mistakes. So it's hard for me to declare that Alma, well, he obviously made a mistake.
So is there any other way to look at that but that's a mistake?
No.
So do you think there's any other way to look at this but that this is a mistake?
That it's just a mistake. I don't know what else to say about it. It's, how could you make this mistake? It's
But think about it back in our test for a prophet. Is God trying to trick us, or does he want us to be protected?
He wants us to be protected.
So he gives us a simple test, right? Not a complex one.
That's right.
And isn't it something that we should test? And if it fails, isn't it for our protection?
It is for our protection.
The New Testament declares that Micah's prophecy was fulfilled when Jesus was born in Bethlehem, Since Jesus was not born in Jerusalem, Alma fails the test of a prophet. Next, Greg and I tested the biblical prophet Isaiah. Around 700 BC, the Old Testament prophet Isaiah made several prophecies about the coming Messiah. One of the most significant was the prediction that the Messiah would come from the ancestry of King David. In love, a throne will be established. In faithfulness, a man will sit on it, one from the house of David. The oldest copy of this prophecy dates to 125 BC and is preserved in what's known as the Great Isaiah Scroll. It was time for Greg and I to make the climb up to cave number 1, where the Great Isaiah Scroll was discovered. But this is literally, right here, is where they found an entire scroll of Isaiah that dates to 125 BC. Wow. I got to see the actual Great Isaiah Scroll because it was on display to the public for 3 months last year for the 60th anniversary. They brought it out and displayed it. A discovery like this is, do you have anything like this in Mormonism for the Book of Mormon or any Mormon scripture?
Not that I know of.
Isaiah says that the Messiah will come from the house of David. Do we know that the house of David is real?
So the house of David, which is first mentioned in the Bible, but is also mentioned extra-biblical sources, such as the Tel Dan inscription.
This is one of 2 inscriptions that have been found dating to the 9th century BC that specifically mention the historical house of David.
The house of David is the family out of which the Messiah is supposed to come.
So we have 2 ancient inscriptions that mention the house of David specifically?
Yes, both of them 9th century BC.
And then was Jesus from the house of David?
That is the tradition which we have in the New Testament.
Jesus, son of David. What does it mean? He's giving to Jesus a messianic title, son of David.
There is also additional evidence outside of the Bible that Jesus is from the ancestry of King David. Eusebius, an ancient source, reports what happened to the descendants of Jesus' brother Jude at the end of the 1st century AD. The descendants of Jude were related to Christ himself, and they were brought to the emperor, and he asked them if they were descendants of David, and they confessed that they were.
This fact is very telling for us because it shows that the family of Jesus was the family of the heirs of King David. So Jesus was the heir of King David. So when at the cross you have a title which is nailed under the cross or upon the cross, we don't know where it was written, Jesus from Nazareth, King of the Jews, this has a very serious meaning. He's the son of David.
So there is both biblical and extra-biblical evidence that Jesus fulfills Isaiah's prophecy that the Messiah would come from the house of David.